Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Post Route. I'm your host, W. Earl Kitchings, and I got to tell you first and foremost, happy Martin Luther King birthday to every one of you who have tuned in to watch this episode of our show tonight. It is always a great day when we can celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. for all he did, for all he put into place, and for everyone who has taken the mantle to run with it to make things better in their communities, in their lives, and wherever they can make a difference. So happy Martin Luther King birthday to everyone. I hope everyone enjoyed today. You got out to celebrate, see parades, whatever you did today to celebrate. I hope it was a good day for you. As you know, each week here on the Post Route, we bring you another interesting guest of the black quarterbacks who have made football here in America one of the greatest sports there is. And when we get a chance to talk to these iconic legends, it is always indeed a pleasure to have them bring to you and share with you their particular histories, stories, and anything else that may be of importance that help to make them the quarterbacks that they were on the field and the men that they are off the field. So tonight, we are going to be bringing you what I feel is an iconic legend in black quarterbacks and black college football. You know, the all time greatest passer in the history of HBC football, and in my opinion, the greatest quarterback from HBCUs to light it up was the late Steve Air McNair from Alcorn State University with over 14,000 yards passing in his HBCU career. Well, unfortunately, we will never have that opportunity to speak to Air McNair, but we do have the next legend. Tonight, joining us will be the man who is number two, sits at the number two spot on the all-time HBCU passing list, 13,516 yards, 140 touchdowns, all SWAC performer, all American, broke all the passing records that was set at Grambling. And now those passing records belong to him and him alone. And everyone who comes to Grambling has to know his name because the one and only Bruce Eugene sits atop that Tiger passing list and number two on the all-time passing list for black college quarterbacks. And let me tell you, after having a preliminary chat with him to talk about some things we will share with you tonight, it is just a fascinating story to hear that he wanted to break the records of Doug Williams. And you know that's saying a lot because first thing you got to have guys up front to block for you. Then you got to have guys to catch your balls. Then they got to run or they got to make the yardage. So there are a lot of factors that go in. And the most critical factor of them all is you got to stay healthy. So if a guy can stay healthy, he's got guys up front who can give him the blocking and protection he needs. He's got receivers who can get open and makes the yak, as they call it, yards after catch, and get into that end zone. Man, you're going to have a phenomenal career. And this gentleman, he did all of that during his time at Grambling from '01 to '05. And let me tell you, he is a treasure. And I will hope that anytime someone is being recruited to be a quarterback at Grambling, I know they're going to always say Doug Williams and then Shaq Harris, but the conversations cannot be held unless we say Bruce Eugene. So joining me tonight as our special guest, Bruce Eugene of Grambling State University. Bruce, welcome to the Post Route.
How you doing, sir? Thanks for having me.
Hey man, I am doing fantastic. I am so blessed to have you on the show, especially that it's Martin Luther King Day, because it just means a little bit more to know that we're doing something this special on such a holiday. So I hope I didn't overkill it when I gave you the introduction about what type of athlete and quarterback you were at Grambling, but the facts are as they are. You are the all-time passing leader at Grambling. So let's talk a little bit about you going to Grambling and what prepared you for that. Because as we spoke there were a lot of schools that were interested in you coming to their place. And I'm gonna let you kind of finish that out because uh, obviously God meant for you to be at Grambling State University, although other schools wanted you. So tell us a little bit about that journey, Bruce,
Well, I grew up in the St. Thomas Projects, which in
in
New
New
Orleans,
Orleans.
which in New Orleans is known as the Tent Ward. So most of my mentors, include my uncle, who was in the band. He used to pull the big old bass drum that
Uh,
they hit on. All of them went to Grambling. So I grew up knowing Grambling. Every time I saw the G, like most people think of Georgia, I always thought of Grambling. Every time I saw Georgia play, I thought that was Grambling playing. And everything else because the G and all the things like that. But for the most part, I would have to say it was God's plan because, um, I played quarterback in high school and I ended up breaking my ankle the game before the playoffs. And at that game, we had LSU there, Arkansas was there, Tulane was there, and two other schools. And I had like 275 yards passing in the second quarter because all I did was throw the ball. And when I broke my ankle, you know, all of those things went away. Those opportunities and things went away, and I honestly thought my football career was going to be done. Because I wasn't hearing from anyone and things like that. And then Texas Southern came along, and they offered me a scholarship. And then Grambling came, and Grambling came later. And the only reason Grambling came, ironically, is they were in town to see Linares L. Page at George Washington Carver High School. So they were over there to see him, but he had already accepted a scholarship offer from Tulane University to play defensive back. And their coach said, if you're looking for a quarterback, you need to go cross town to Cohen High School. They got a big quarterback over there that can throw the ball. And, Coach Melvin Spears, he came by, and it just so happened the day he came by, we had a basketball game. So he and I talked football prior to the basketball game, and then he came to the basketball game, which I was the starting point guard. And I had like 18 points, like 15 assists. And after that, he was like, I need you to come and play for me. Like he was like, you can move for a big guy. I need you to come play for me. And, during that time, my mother, she didn't know much about it. All she knew was Texas Southern is giving you a full scholarship. Grambling is offering you to walk on. But, your heart, you can't deny where your heart is. And, Grambling is where my heart was. I walked on at Grambling. When I walked on, there were 6 quarterbacks. Five of them were on scholarship. Five of them were on scholarship. I was the only quarterback that wasn't on scholarship. So that kind of gave me the edge and motivation I needed to really, like work and grind and to become one of the greats.
Well, it's interesting, Bruce, because when we have family members who attend a university or college, and when you got 4 or 5 family members who went to the same college, that influence becomes very, very heavy. I mean, I can relate to that because I had uncles and aunts to go to Florida A&M. My parents went to Florida A&M. My mother grew up in Tallahassee, so that influence for me, I can understand when that influence is around you, man. It's kind of hard to back away from it. So, what happened to those uncles and aunts and everybody in the family when you made the decision to go to Grambling? What did everybody say to you then?
Well, put it like this, my whole neighborhood was like that because, like I said, my uncle was in the band, but then all of his friends who he grew up with, in the project where we were from, all of them went to Grambling. So it was like that's all I knew. Everywhere I turned, everywhere I would looked, I would see them go off to college and then come back home and repping the black and gold around the projects and the G and things like that. So when I decided to go, everybody was excited. But once I started playing, you really saw the excitement because it was like the community used to just shut down and everybody jump on the road and come to Grambling to come and watch me play.
So Bruce, are you wanting everyone to understand that Southern University had no interest? I mean, come on, Southern didn't
I
have any nothing.
no interest at all. I never got a phone call, text, email,
Wow.
nothing. They didn't come down the street. They didn't come down the street to get me.
Well, that tells me you were meant to be a Grambling Tiger up and down, man. And so now you're headed to Grambling. You know about the Grambling history. You know about the great Doug Williams. You've heard about the great James Shack Harris. And you are now thinking about what your career at Grambling is going to be? You're not knowing how it's going to end, but you know going into it, you're getting ready to do some phenomenal things.
Absolutely. Once I got there, I really dove into the deep history we have. Like I said, people know about Coach Doug. You know what I'm saying? They know about Shaq, but they don't know about the Mike Williams.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Clemente Gardens. You know what I'm saying?
Kendrick
They don't
Nord.
Kendrick Nord. They don't speak of the others. You know what I'm saying? Came along like Grambling has always had a history of having great quarterbacks.
Right.
I was just fortunate enough to have the opportunity to be the next one in line. And what I did was I was the type of person that I looked at the stats of who was the best. So I looked at
Right.
the,
Right.
the list of the top passers for yards freshman year, yards sophomore year, yards junior year, yards senior year, career yardage, career touchdowns. Stuff like I looked at the stats because that's what kept me motivated. Like I wanted to be the best, especially going to Grambling and having to walk on. And I felt like I was the better quarterback my freshman year as a walk on. That just motivated me and everything else. And look, like I said, I gotta thank God and Coach Melvin Spears for believing in me, even making the trip to New Orleans, and Coach Doug Williams for giving me the opportunity.
Well, you're there, Grambling. You know the history. You're saying to yourself you want to make a name for yourself. But when we were talking, you made the comment that you wanted to break all of Doug Williams' records, and I mean that says quite a lot because it's like, dude, are you stepping into some ginormous shoes? You're saying you want to break all of Doug Williams' records, but like you said, that fueled your fire and that kept motivating you. So now, after you broke his record, you didn't stop there. You kept going.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Coach had pretty much every record. If he didn't have everyone, he was second. So with Coach Doug being my coach, what better way to honor your coach than break his records? And the funny part about it is, like, it's a few times Coach Williams I would have. So Coach Williams had the record for I think 7 touchdowns, and then I tied it a few times.
Okay.
But then it was a few times when I was like, Coach Spears was the offensive coordinator. He would be like, "Hey, we tied the record. Let's go break it." And Coach Williams would hit him on the headset and be like, "Nah." He would take me out and put the backup quarterback in, so I didn't break his record. So it was, we that happened a few times. But then the one thing I can't say about Coach Doug, he embraced the fact that if he's gonna break my record, I can say I was the guy that coached him. I coached the guy that broke my records.
Right. Right.
So his records would live in me, but they're gonna be behind me in the record books.
So Bruce, so when you knew that Coach Williams wasn't going to put you in, did y'all kind of have a laugh about it and say, Coach, you just don't want me to break your records, do
we
you?
we always joked about it. We always joked about it, like, come on, coach, like, you had the record long enough. Now records are made to be broken. You know, let me get it and everything else. But like a few times, like sometimes we needed those touchdown passes to win the game.
Right.
Other times it was just teams were just that bad, and we just jump on them and get the game over with quick. But you know, um, I think it was really like one game where it was just like, what, they're just bad. Let's get what you can and then get up out of here.
So some games that y'all got on top of teams so much that they pulled you out of the game, I would think,
Yeah, well, I
and
got out
shut
of
you
there
down.
early. Yeah.
So had you stayed a little bit longer, you would have had a few more yards and a few more touchdowns.
Let me tell you something. I would have had a lot more yards and a lot more touchdowns. you know, because back then, like I said, I had a great group of guys. You know what I'm saying? Like my offensive line was amazing, and I'm talking about every year. Every year, I
Okay.
had an offensive line that, when I tell you protect the franchise, they
Yeah.
protected the franchise. You know what I'm saying? And then my running backs, they were great. My receivers, I was fortunate enough to play with Grambling, all the top four all-time leading receivers at Grambling. I played with all four of them. I
Wow.
played with Scotty Anderson. Then Tremone Douglas broke Scotty Anderson's record. I threw the ball to him. And then Henry Tolbert broke Tremone Douglas' record. I threw the ball to him. And then Clyde Edwards broke Henry Tolbert's record. I threw the ball to him. So I was fortunate enough to play with those four receivers who are the top four. And then, like I said, other receivers who like phenomenal, like Chris Highshaw, Ellis Spears, Thyron Anderson, Corey Brownfield, DJ Clay, Kelvin Colquitt, uh, and
Wow.
the list goes on. If
Wow.
I'm missing any more, I'm sorry, but like I said, man, I had a great group of guys that like Henry Tobin, but Henry Tobin was a running back that moved to receiver. You know what I'm
Gotcha.
saying? We had Reginald Jackson. We had it was to the point where it didn't matter who was there. They stepped in, they stepped up, and they made plays, and that's what made us like so dominant.
So Bruce, when you've got that type of arsenal to throw to, how comfortable and how confident does that make a guy like yourself or any quarterback feel in an offensive scheme when you know you got receivers, man, who can get the job done, and when one leaves, another one comes? I mean, it's not like trying to find the guy. You guys just kept reloading for that offense, man, and for you to call out at least almost a dozen guys' names. I mean, it's like, did it ever stop? But I would think as a recruiter or a head coach, you kind of tell guys, if you can catch the football, we're going to throw you the football in this offense we've got, in this scheme we got, because we've got the guy who can deliver that. So that made it easy for you to get more receivers to come there and play for Grambling, and for you to connect with them, because the camaraderie and the way you guys would have to come together to make sure y'all practice and y'all delivered, man. How good was that in practice when you guys just practice like that?
Practice was tough. Practice was more like the game. Before I go on, I gotta give a shout out to the first guy, the guy that caught my very first touchdown pass, Levi Washington, Mr. Bayou Classic. I forgot his name, but practice were like games with us. You
Okay.
know what I'm saying? It was real competitive. You know what I'm saying? Even with the wide receiver position, if you drop the ball, you might not get back in. You know what I'm saying? So it was constant competition. You know, every day it was. You know, they would make bets like, okay, whoever dropped the most balls got to carry all the shoulder pads in. Whoever
Right.
dropped the most balls got
Right.
to do it. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
the competition factor was there, and so when came the game time, we had already played the game during practice. You
Gotcha.
know, for us, the games were
Gotcha.
easy, and then we studied together a lot. Like myself and the receivers, we always watched film together. So we would, while we were watching film, our conversation would be more like, hey, if we get this look, you know, instead of running this, you can sit it down here. You know, if we get this look, you can sit it down here. Okay, if they come in and give us this, first time, let's do this, and the next time we'll come back and do this. So that our conversations during film study and everything else was like straight game strategy.
Right.
We were preparing ourselves for that, and then we would go to the practice field and work on it like time after time after time. And then once game time comes and they give us the same look that we just watched on film and we just practiced, oh man, thank you. You know,
Easy.
it
Easy.
was real easy. Like
Yeah.
it's a few times I used to talk trash to the defense, and you know how the defense like to disguise, they like to disguise the defense and show like they're gonna blitz and then back out of there. So I used to tell the defense, I used to be like, hey, you don't belong there. Well, if you here and you over here, then that means you got to get over here. And now we like my receivers, I used to be like, yo, you see it? Okay, like so our communication was great, man. I miss the guys. When I saw them at Bayou Classic, man, I hug them and tell them I miss them. Like we had some great times and did some great things together.
Well, you know, to hear that, man, that just talks about the bond you guys created, because when you got a guy who can deliver the ball, when you got a guy who can catch the ball, the confidence in everybody, really escalates. But as you were telling me all this, something funny came to mind. It's like, so when a guy that you put the ball on the money, you put it, I mean, dropped it right in his hands, and he dropped it. When he came back to the huddle, what would you say? Or when the guy's wide open and you missed them, what would they say? Because I'm sure that either was some looks or something said, but y'all worked it out. But I'm sure there was some things said in that huddle that, man, I can just imagine what that might have been like.
Well, you know what's crazy? Like I knew my guys, so I knew the receivers. So the ones who was very confident in themselves, I
Right.
was able to be like, "Yo, come on, man, what you doing?" Like, you know what I'm saying? I was able to really get on them because of, they were confident. I knew they were upset with themselves at not making that play.
Right.
But the ones who was not very confident in themselves, I had
Yeah.
to handle them differently. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, come on. Hey, we good. We good. Don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? That's on me. That's on me. I got to put it here. You know what I'm saying? I kind of took the blame just so
Right.
they didn't
Right.
just so they didn't make one mistake, which compiles into another mistake and another mistake and another mistake, and then you kind of take yourself out the game. Now, if they came most of the time, if they dropped the pass, I didn't have to tell them nothing because they didn't come back to the huddle because they was running to the sideline. You know what I'm saying? So it was a difference. Now, if they're running wide open and I missed them, I would know like, hey, I missed them. My thing was don't put your hand up, don't yell at me. We not having that. Or I was like, look, get him out of here. Send me somebody else. You know what I'm saying? But if I missed him, I would tell him like, look, hey, I missed him. We gonna come back to it, and I won't miss you again. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, it was it was we had a lot of respect for each other. You know what I'm saying? You cut us open, we all bled black and gold. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
Right.
for us,
Right.
it was like in that moment during the game, we can't, we're not trying to beat the dead horse and beat you down and everything else. But when we get to practice and we watch film, oh no, we were on it now. Like we were on it now because
I hear you.
we can talk and things like
I hear
that,
you.
man. But the
So,
guys, like I said, the guys were on themselves, and they competed every time. So no one
okay.
wanted to drop a ball.
Talk a little bit about the quarterback fraternity at a Grambling State University, with knowing that you have such prestigious names as a Doug Williams and a Shaq Harris. But just talk a little bit about that fraternity amongst all you guys who have stepped. One other guy I got to put in there too is Matt Reed. Matt Reed is a
Matthew
guy.
Reed, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Matt Reed doesn't get the notoriety because he didn't make it in the NFL. But
He
for
was
those of us who know him and saw him play in the old World Football League,
he
he
was
was he was a
yes,
beast.
sir.
He was a
Yes,
beast.
sir.
So that fraternity, that Grambling State quarterback fraternity, talk a little bit about how special that is to you guys.
Oh man, it's huge because you got to realize when you step into that position as a quarterback, you're not only representing yourself, you represent all of those that came before you. So for me, I embraced that role. Like I wanted to know the guys and personally meet the guys who played before me, just so we can talk about the difference between their times and our times. A lot of
Right.
times we used to talk trash to each other because I used to tell them, you know, back then y'all was nice, but y'all wasn't throwing the ball like I'm throwing the ball. You know what I'm saying? But then we used to get into the argument of we were in the wing tee, they were in the wing tee throwing the ball. I was in a spread offense. So I got more opportunities to throw the ball than they got to throw the ball. So, that's kind of some of the
Exactly.
conversations we would have, but it was an honor to represent them, and it felt good when, the old quarterbacks came back and it was, they would tell me like, yo, what I'm saying, you're doing a great job, son. I'm glad you representing us. I'm glad I get the chance to watch you play it and everything else. And then we get a chance to talk ball and stuff like that. But it was an honor, man. Every time I went places and I met another quarterback that played and everything, I was happy that I was able to, continue upholding the legacy of the Grambling quarterback position.
And now, Bruce, you step into that role for all these guys who come along now as that quarterback that they have to uh, pay homage to, give respect to, and just want to be around a guy like you because of what you did at Grambling on the field. So you have now ascended to that role of being one of those legends at Grambling, so that when these guys see you, it's like, ooh, that's Bruce Eugene, man, and everybody should know. Everybody should know who that guy is. And by the mere fact that you were blessed to be in an offense where they did throw the ball as much as they did, because um, I think when Coach Robinson had Doug, Matt, and Shaq, I think he was evolving the offense at that time into more of a passing game, because most black colleges evolve on a running game. So
Yeah.
for you to be in a scheme, man, where you threw for that many yards, ooh, man,
Amazing.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
thank goodness you didn't go somewhere else, because Tulane or LSU probably wouldn't have let you play that much. And since Southern didn't want you, it wouldn't have made a big difference. But it was meant for you to be at Grambling, man. And I'm just happy that you had that opportunity so that you could become one of those legacy quarterbacks in that program. So kudos to you for stepping up and embracing your role and wanting to be as good of a quarterback as you were.
Absolutely. Well, there almost wasn't no Bruce Eugene.
Right.
I played one year we played McNeese State at McNeese, and I played horrible. I was 3 for 27, 3 interceptions.
Ooh.
We got blown out. So the next week, coach started a freshman quarterback, Gary Cooper from
Mm.
Shreveport, and he benched me, and I thought I was invincible. I'm like, you're not gonna bench me. I just played with Randy. I spent time with Randy Hines, and I did all this. Come on, you're not gonna bench me for no freshman and everything else. And he benched me, and I was upset all week, and and Gary Cooper. Look, I love him. That's my guy. We talking everything else, but thank God he caught cramps, because when he caught cramps and they put me back in and I threw a touchdown pass and we got a turnover, and then coach, instead of going back to Gary who had the cramps, he said, "Give me Bruce."
Right.
And I
Right.
came in and I led us to a touch. I threw a game-winning touchdown and we won the game. And the next week they were saying quarterback controversy between myself and Gary Cooper, and Coach Williams. He stopped that dead in the tracks and was like, "No, no, no!" At his weekly press conference, Bruce Eugene is our quarterback. That's it.
Exactly.
And from
Period.
that point forward, I took practice. Game, everything was just taken differently because at any moment it could have been taken away from me.
Well, for you to recognize that fact, and maybe you needed that benching in order to adjust your attitude,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that was a blessing because it got you right. You did understand what was going on, and you did know that, hey, coach will bench me. He don't care. He'll bench me. If I mess up, he'll
Yeah.
bench me. And I don't want to mess up anymore because I don't, it's a funny thing about you guys who are quarterbacks, man. You guys don't like to be on the bench. You don't want to get sat down. It's like, no, coach, you can't take me out. I'm the man. But sometimes a coach does know what he's doing.
Absolutely.
And that seemed to be one of those times. So that's great, man. That's great. And I'm glad you responded the way you did. So from there, again, you just kept becoming a more phenomenal guy. And that was a beautiful thing. Let me ask you this. What was it like when you met Coach Eddie Robinson?
Oh, you meant.
I have to ask. I
Let
have
me
to ask.
you see how I had to sit up and really just. I'm talking about took my, like, it just takes your breath away, because we caught him you know like right before the dementia and all that really started to hit,
Right, right.
so um I ran into him for the first time. I ran into him at a high school football game.
Okay.
His son was coaching Grambling High. Eddie Jr. was coaching at Grambling High and everything else. And I'll never forget, Coach Spears' son was playing for Eddie Jr. and they were playing, I think, Rayville,
Okay.
one of those schools like that. And I rode to the game with Coach, and Coach Robinson was sitting there. So when I saw him, I'm like, "How you doing, Coach Robinson? My name is Bruce Eugene." He said, "I know who you are. You that you that big quarterback we got over there." You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So for me, it was like, and I sat down and we just talked and everything, and it was like I was just starstruck. I was
Right.
just,
Right.
it was like, this is Coach Eddie Robinson. This is
That is the man.
this. It was just
That
like
is the
like
man.
like wow, and I was like, he knew me. Coach Spears was like, everyone knows you. Like, that's what happens when you come to Grambling. Like, everyone knows you, but it was just such a great moment. Like, I remember it like it was yesterday. And then, what we used to do is during camp, we used to walk down the street to Coach Rob's house and sing the alma mater.
Wow.
And his wife had told us and said to us that he don't remember many things. He was like, he don't remember many things, but he knows the players who played for him,
Right.
and he knows the alma mater. And he was standing there and he was singing word for word. Oh my! It was like such a momentous
How,
moment. Like,
how
just
how how emotional was that for you guys? I mean, because here is a legend. Here's the icon of Grambling State University football, and for you guys to see this guy singing word for word with you guys, man. Because I know the words of an alma mater will touch you in your heart, man. It will raise you up sometimes, and sometimes you need that inspiration, that musical inspiration, if you will, to bring you up. So how emotional was that for you guys to walk down there, man, and coach is singing it with you guys,
yeah.
man? It's like, man, this guy here, man, he's unbelievable.
So, and in that moment when you're a young guy, you're playing, you don't really understand. Like, you hear the coaches talk about, hey, we're gonna go down there, we're gonna sing the alma mater and everything else. So you don't really understand how big that moment is when you're there. Like you hear it, because if you don't know the history of it, of
Right.
Coach Robinson, it don't really hit you that hard. You're like, okay, we came to sing with Coach Robinson and everything else. Like, wow, this is big, But being now, like having done it, having played there, now being an alum of the school and stuff like that, it's just that moment is like a moment in time that will forever be stamped. Like
Right.
it'll never be replaced. It'll never be forgotten, because of Coach Robinson and what he stands for, not only to Grambling, but to college football, to HBCU football around the country. Like Coach Robinson was the guy, the icon. There's the Eddie Robinson Award that's designed for him and everything else. So Coach Robinson, like even right now, I got chills just even thinking about it and talking about
I
it.
hear you. I hear you. Well, Bruce, hang on for a second. We're going to take a quick 1 minute timeout and do this commercial. We'll come back to you. This is the Post Route with W. Earl Kitchings. My special guest tonight is the one, the only, the fantastic all-time passing leader at Grambling and number 2 on the all-time passing list for HBCUs, the one, the only, Bruce Eugene. Stay with us. We'll be right back. When it's time for you to keep up with guys like Bruce Eugene and other phenomenal quarterbacks who have played at either your alma mater or some of the power white colleges or whatever, you need to know about who these guys are and what they did. And the best way to do that is by purchasing a copy of my book, The Forgotten QBs. All you got to do is go to the website, the Quarterfi Back, that's quarter, PHI back.com, click on the icon and find the book. You can order it online, drop us a note, and we'll make sure you get your book. It's only $35. But it records data, information, statistics, some stories about quarterbacks who have played this game, black quarterbacks who have played this game. And the reason why we do this show and have that book and everything else that's related to Quarterfi Backs is because of guys like who we're talking to tonight, a legend. We don't want those legacies to ever go away or die, because if we don't tell our story, then who will? And I think we are best to do the storytelling. So the book is filled with quarterbacks from 1903 through 1990, guys who played at HBCUs, who have played at some of the major colleges, some of the mid-major colleges, and their information is phenomenal, because if you don't know the legacy of black quarterbacks from colleges to the next level of pros, a lot of times these guys get converted to running wide receivers or defensive backs. So if you want to know more about black quarterbacks over the first century of college football from 1903 to 1990, get a copy of The Forgotten QBs. And if you are interested in wearing your gear, if you're from Grambling, you're from Southern, you're from Florida A&M, if you're looking for something special to wear at the next game, whether it be basketball, football, baseball, track, it doesn't matter. Check out the folks out there in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at the Anthony Lawrence Collection. Go online to anthonylawrencecollection.com and look at their gallery of outstanding apparel and other merchandise that they have for you, for your alma mater, that you can purchase and wear so you will be a fashion showcase. That's the Anthony Lawrence Collection at anthonylawrence.com. Tell them you heard about them on the Post Route, and they'll take care of you. We're going to get back to my guest tonight, Bruce Eugene, the all-time record holder at Grambling State University, 13,516 career yards, 150 touchdowns. Hey, Bruce, talking about, after you guys had gone down there and spoke and sang the song, the alma mater with Coach Robinson, how special that was. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about some special moments in your career that you played in. And I'm going to save the Bayou Classic for last, because I know that is probably one of the biggest games you guys had. And because it's on Thanksgiving Saturday or Thanksgiving Day, that game always meant a lot. But what were some of the other phenomenal games that you recall that really, really stood out that made an impact on you?
The McNeese State game at Grambling. We played them on a Saturday night. I think that was one of the first night games we played,
Okay.
and yeah, we lost that game. But McNeese was the number one team in the country, and we got them to come into Grambling, and we ended up losing at the end. It was a shootout, and that was kind of the rematch from the year before when I played horrible.
Right.
I was looking forward to that game, and
Okay.
we lit them up. My receiver Tremont Douglas had 17 catches for like 200 plus yards. It was crazy, and we let them get away. I think we ended up losing like 27-24, something like that.
Wow.
But it was one of those great games. That game, the
What
Morris
about the
Brown
Jackson
game,
State game?
the Morris Brown game.
Okay.
Because that was, you see the movie on Drumline and everything else, and then when we played them and everything else,
Bruce,
that
how,
game.
how many touchdowns did you torch them for, man? Because I know you torched them.
Morris Brown, I think I threw 7 to 8. I threw like 7 to 8 touchdowns in the Morris Brown game.
I knew that was the case, man. When you said, as soon as you said Morris Brown, I'm like, oh, that's one of them 7 touchdown games.
But it was a close game though. Like
Really?
yeah, because they made it close during the end. Then we ran away with it late in the fourth quarter. So
Okay.
Morris Brown, like you say, Jackson State game. Myself when Robert Kent was the quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was when they came to Grambling. It was Big Bad Jackson, and we blew them out. That was
Okay.
a seven. That was a
Okay.
7 touchdown game. That was So like I said, we had some. Like I said, we had some good ones though. We really had some. We had some good ones, but that one, I had a couple of heartbreakers in the Bayou Classic. I would have to say the last Bayou Classic in Houston because that was the only one I won. So
Wow.
that one right there was big for me, kind of like getting the monkey off your back and stuff like that.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, we
How
had some games.
special? I mean, as a player, I mean, all the games are important, but the rivalry games, and I know that's one of the rivalry games. I know you guys play in the, I think it's the State Fair Classic every year.
Oh, Dallas, and we played Prairie View in Dallas.
Prairie
Yep.
View, yeah. Yeah. So
That was
between those two games, which one do you favor the best?
well, the Bayou. Nothing can compare to the Bayou Classic.
Nothing.
Nothing compares to the Bayou Classic. Like, no disrespect to all the other classics, nothing compares to the Bayou Classic. The State Fair Classic, has its own meaning, with us in Prairie View, but there's no comparison to the Bayou Classic. But that classic is always a good one, mid-season to see all the fans from Prairie View and Grambling, regardless of the records, pile into Cotton Bowl and play. It's
Okay.
great. With the whole state fair around it. It's
Yeah.
like on the bus you get to drive through the fair, going to the game. So that's special also.
So I know in those rivalry games, man, if you guys are hadn't won a game going into the Bayou Classic, you throw all the records out. How much trash talking, man, is going on down on the field? Because it's so loud and you can't hear. But I know up close, man. It's got to be a lot of trash
Let me
talking
say
going on.
the trash talking starts from the beginning, from the luncheon, the day before the game. You know what I'm saying? Well, really 2 weeks before the game because we both always have like a bye week in between that. So the
Right.
family trash talking, then the players are trash talking at the luncheon, then it's constant trash talking before the game, during the game, everything. It's constant trash talking. So, that game there is just, if you don't know how to trash talk, you got all year to prepare for that game.
So what might have been one of the most highlighted trash talking things you might have said to Southern during one of those games?
I used to tell them, Google me. I used to tell them everybody play Grambling get 50. We had it was a lot of stuff we used to say. Like I said, I was the biggest trash talker for my team because my receivers never talked trash. They just went out there and balled out. Me, I talked trash because I knew the ball was in my hand. So if things went wrong, it was my fault. If things went right, it was based on out playing well. So I enjoyed it.
And when those guys would sack you sometimes, what would they say to you when they got you down?
Ooh, they be like, yo, we coming back for more. We're gonna keep hitting your big, we gonna keep hitting your big ASS. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, there you go. And for me, I loved it. I loved it.
Did you like running the football too, or you just preferred throwing and you didn't want to run too much?
I ran when needed. I ran when needed. When I needed to. Every now and then, I checked a couple of design quarterback runs, but I had to remember, and it's not a knock on anybody behind me. It was just, if I'm the guy, if I'm the leader, I can't go down. I have to be a machine, and I always thought to myself like that.
Well, Bruce, you weren't no small guy out there on the football field,
Not at
you know.
all.
And for a defensive back, I'm not talking about them interior linemen, but I'm talking about if you got to the edge and it was one on one with a defensive back.
I'm running over him. I'm running over him.
Oh, and when you trucked a few of them, did your trash talk even more?
Oh yeah. I used to tell the coach, you better sub him out. I'm coming back. We coming back. You better sub him out.
Well, I think that's all the fun part of the game, man. When you have that kind of spirit going on, and you can talk that trash, and it's all in good spirit. Hopefully nobody ever gets too upset. But when you're losing, your emotions get so caught up, man, that you get caught up in your emotions. So, but yeah, just to know that kind of talking happens. I've had opportunity to talk a little trash sometimes when playing rivalry games and folks are coming to the game. I'll tell them, hey, it ain't gonna be long. So don't warm up the seats because it ain't gonna be long. Y'all ain't gonna be too long.
Look, I used to tell them before the game, look, we're already up 21-0. How many more we score after that depends on you.
I hear you. I hear you. So now, as a quarterback, share with our viewers and our listeners some of the things that you value most for being a quarterback. Things that you have to have or you have to be if you're going to be a top-notch quarterback.
You have to be intelligent. You got to be a student of the game.
Okay.
It's a lot of people you get out there. You want to play quarterback because it's like the prime time position, but you're not putting the work ethic in, and you're not putting in the time to study your craft. Get better at your craft, work at your craft. A lot of times they'll tell you. A lot of times I didn't go out. I didn't go to parties because I was in there watching film.
Okay.
I wanted to watch my mistakes. I didn't watch my highlights. I watched my mistakes because I didn't want to make the same mistakes. Coach Spears one year when the end of the season over, I was talking about my stats, and he said, "Come on, we're gonna sit down and watch film." He got the videographer to put a highlight together of every mistake I made from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. You know what I'm saying? So when I got the chance to see those same looks that I missed the year before and everything else, I was ready for it. So, you got to be a student of the game, man. You got to be coachable. And you got to
Ah,
understand. And you got to understand with this position, it comes a lot of responsibilities. Guess what? If you lose, you're gonna get the blame. But if you win, you get all the glory. So you got to be ready for everything that comes with the position. And I was ready for it. I'm not gonna tell you I didn't cry sometimes. Yeah, I cried sometimes.
sure.
Because I played this game. I'm very passionate about this game and about how I play. So, when I didn't play up to par and I didn't do what I was supposed to do, yeah, I got down on myself. I was mad. I was frustrated. I cried and everything else. But I just knew, okay, now I need to pick it back up and get back to business. Get back to being, the quarterback that Grambling needs us to do.
Well, you mentioned two important things. One, to be intelligent and be a student of the game and learn your craft. And I don't know what it's like at the high school level for some of these guys, but I know definitely at the college and definitely at the professional level, if you don't learn that playbook, if you don't learn those plays from everybody's position, you're not a real student of the game.
Not
And
at all.
then the other thing that I think is even critical is the fact that you said you got to be coachable.
Yeah.
And that means you got to take the good with the bad. You got to take the mistakes with the not so with the non-mistakes. You got to listen to that coach get on your butt, trying to make you better,
Yep.
and not get in your feelings. And um, talk a little bit, especially for young guys who are in high school, the importance of being that coachable quarterback.
Well, my guys I've coached, the fact that I played the position, I always tell them I'm gonna be hard on you than any other position because I played the position. So I know what it takes to get to that level and beyond. So, the main thing for kids in high school is, like you said, it's understanding that I'm yelling at you, not you the person, but you the mistake that you made. And a lot of kids don't know how to differentiate the two. So you got to make sure you spend time talking with them and getting them to understand. And once you get the kid to understand what you're saying and believing in you, then you'll get the best out of them in high school. And I think that's why I love coaching kids in high school, because you get to see their growth from where they started to where they finished, and they don't get to see it. They don't understand that they're slowly getting better. Most kids, all right, coach, you training me today, I'm the best tomorrow. No, you're not. It's a process.
Right.
So enjoy the process. Let's enjoy the journey. And then once we get to the final destination and you look back, then you'll be like, wow, I used to do that. I was doing that when, so those kids, that's what I love about it. That's the thing I think most kids most kids in high school that play the position need to understand. And I think that's why, you know, with the screen that's going across and talking about my quarterback training. That's why I want to train the next group of quarterbacks to come up, because I want them to understand that, you too can be great. You too can, have the type of career I had or better, but I want to teach you the basics and the fundamentals now, because I didn't get taught that until I got to college. So I want to kind of expedite your process and get it started now so you can be college ready once you get there.
Okay. Now, speaking of intelligence, I'm going to segue to something you and I discussed real briefly. But I saw online today something came out where they started to criticize CJ Stroud as it relates to this aptitude test. Now, they went from the Wonderlic test, now they call it the S2 cognition test. And they
Yeah.
were talking about how low he scored on this test and trying to use that as a way to minimize who he is as a quarterback. What do you feel about such tests being so hard on black quarterbacks from the standpoint that they release their results, but you don't hear about other guys' results being released? What are your thoughts about that?
When you get into those type of positions, trying to get those type of positions to the next level, they're going to try to find every chance they can to pretty much undervalue you. And in terms of CJ Stroud, this CJ is exceptional. I don't know what they're talking about. Did you not see him win the first round playoff game? It's like, some people are not great test takers. Some people,
Right.
when you know you're going first or second pick overall, some people don't care about that test. They don't even want to be in there. So they just go in and waste the time like an eye, because they already know where they're going. Like, for people who have to prove themselves, like myself and others, we had to take that test seriously, because we had to show those people who thought we couldn't think like the others that we could. So that's why I was so passionate about taking that test, and that's why when I took it, and I think I scored a 41 or 42, and I had like the highest score at the combine. Before, I think Dustin Dvorak, I think he broke it either the next year, I think. So for me, it
Yeah.
was like, when you already pretty much penciled in to going first, second, and third, you're not gonna take that test serious. Those people, those coaches in those meetings that are meeting with you and talking football on the board and everything else, they don't care about that test. They already look. You're a top guy. Now, once you become the mid rounders to late rounders, now they're gonna start to see, okay, what difference about you than you?
Right.
What separates you two guys? Okay, look, he's smart over here. He picks things up faster and everything else than this guy here. Then that comes into play. But when you're a guy that's already penciled in to go first, second round, they're not they're not looking at those tests like that.
Well, I just thought I would, because we did briefly touch on that. And
Yeah.
when I saw this online, man, it just made me a little concerned, because here we are again. They went from the Wonderlic test, and now they're calling it the S2 cognition test. And it's like, so Stroud scored 18%, but
Yeah.
Bryce Young scored 98%. And then their other guy who was drafted with them, Anthony Richardson, scored 79%. But Anthony Richardson nor Bryce Young are going to the next round of the playoffs, and they didn't
Exactly.
lead their team to that win. So I agree with you that the tests are not that critically important, but depending on who's wanting to use that as a value to make an issue of it or a point of it, it becomes something that is just another way to eliminate or minimize guys from being at that position. And for those people who don't know it, that test has been around for a long time. But thank goodness we got guys like you who can pour uh, into these young guys that you're wanting to train to get them ready. Because one of the things they do talk about that test is for uh, that test to help with making decision making. So if you're pouring into them how to best do that, then that test really won't matter. But again, it's going to always be there, it seems like. So I look forward to you training these young men up, not with just the mechanics or the skills, but the mental aspect, because the mental toughness and the mental conditioning, and as you said, being a student of the game are so important.
Yeah, I'm working on building the total quarterback from character, from character to class.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's one way to do it. And being that you're coming from that uh, program where Eddie Robinson was wanting to build quarterbacks at a time when he knew that he needed to get them into the league. It says volumes about you. So I'm glad you got a chance to meet Coach Robinson, even though it was in the latter parts of his life. But whether it's latter part or middle part, you got a chance to touch him. And because he said he knew you, then that's all that you really needed to know. That he said, "Hey, I know who you are," so that made a big difference. But hey, man, let me tell you, this has been great. I've enjoyed the laughs. I've enjoyed the information. I am just so thankful that you are still in the process of doing who you are and working with young people to make them better, man. And I pray that God continues to bless you with that. Why don't you give a quick shout out to your program of what you're doing with this quarterback training real quick?
All right, I want to for all of those looking for quarterback training in the New Orleans, Baton Rouge surrounding areas. I have my quarterback training called Elite Triggerman QB training. You can DM me on my page. You can DM on my New York Hustle 7v7 page, or on my personal page, Bruce Eugene. I have another Instagram page at Coach Paso. You can DM me, or you can call me 917-640-0596. I'm always looking to train kids. I love working with kids. And to my New York Hustle team, we'll be in Miami. We'll be playing in Battle Miami in 2 weeks. The week of January 26th, 27th, 28th. So all my New York Hustle guys up there in New York, and the ones in New Orleans that's playing with me. I can't wait for you guys to get down there and showcase what we've been working on and what we have in store for this upcoming 7-on-7 season.
All right. You heard it first from the man himself, Coach Bruce Eugene. Hey, Bruce, thanks so much again for joining us tonight, man. God bless you. And I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of quarterbacks are going to come out of Louisiana. We got a watch list that we do for quarterbacks every year. We present our award, the Bilt Memorial Award, to the top quarterback of black quarterback from high schools across the nation. So I'm going to keep a firm eye on those guys who are over there in Louisiana playing, man, because I see one that's really standing out. I'm gonna have to give you a call and ask you if that's one of your guys.
Well, absolutely. I'm trying to touch them all. Um, like I said, it's an exciting time here in New Orleans, and the football hotbed that comes from this state. So I'm just trying to make sure at the quarterback position we have some coming out every year from the state. And to all my G-men, my fellow G-men, my Grambling guys, man, I love y'all, I miss y'all. For those who coaching on the 7-on-7 circuit or high school, good luck during 7-on-7 and this upcoming spring.
All right, coach. You take care, man, and we'll see you in the future. Thanks
Thank
again.
you. Thank
All
you.
right.
All right.
Coach Bruce Eugene, Grambling great, the all-time leading passer at Grambling. When we come back after this commercial break, we're going to talk a little bit about this S2 cognition test so that you will know what it's all about and why it continues to be something that seems to be important in the world of the NFL. But right now, if you are looking for that special gear, apparel, whatever you're looking for, check out the folks out there at the Anthony Lawrence Collection. Go to their website, anthonylawrencecollection.com. See if there's something on their gallery of merchandise from schools from across the HBCU landscape, and see if you can find something that suits and fits what you are wanting to express from a fashion statement. The Anthony Lawrence Collection is a fantastic group of young men and women building a business out in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So if you're looking for something special, if you can't find it, check out the Anthony Lawrence Collection at anthonylawrencecollection.com. I'm sure they will take care of you, and let them know that you heard about them on the Post Route. And as always, if you want to know more about quarterbacks, black quarterbacks in particular, get a copy of my book, The Forgotten QBs. Go online to quarterfiveback.com, our website, and order the book so that you can learn more about the young men who have played this game since 1903 to 1990. That's when the book chronicles. And then you will know more about the guys who will be coming onto the show, because each one of them is a legend in their own right. So go to our website at quarterfiveback.com and get your copy of my book, The Forgotten QBs. It's only $35. Check us out. As we get ready to close, I wanted to just go over quickly what the S2 cognition test is about and why it seems to not be something that goes away, because once upon a time it was called the Wonderlic assessment test or aptitude test. And they say that this assessment tool is designed to measure an individual's ability to process complex information and make rapid, effective decisions. It evaluates various cognitive skills, including attention, perception, memory, and decision making. S2 is also used to evaluate football players' cognitive abilities and provide tailored on-the-field drills designed by top-level coaches to measurably improve performance. Now, that says a lot about why they have the test. However, that is theory. When you get in a game and you're dealing with all these different defenses that they're surrounding you with, you got to make decisions. Sometimes the coaches don't call the right plays at the right time because these defenses will switch in the middle of you getting ready to call a play. Now, when they updated the 2023 draft class of quarterbacks with this test, Bryce Young scored the highest at 98%, Jake Haener at 96%, Will Levis at 93%, Jared Hall at 93%, Clayton Tune at 84%, Anthony Richardson at 79%, Hendon Hooker at 46%, and then C.J. Stroud at 18%. Throw all that out the window, because when you get into those games, nobody is thinking about any S2 cognition, because the bottom line, as Vince Lombardi said, winning is not just a thing, it's the only thing. And if you're a winning quarterback and you're winning as C.J. Stroud has done, as Jordan Love has done, and shout outs to both of those guys who are leading their teams to the next round of the playoffs. C.J. Stroud with Houston, Jordan Love with Green Bay. Congratulations on winning your first round. I mean, these guys are having their first year starting. Stroud, a rookie, but he's already showed that he's a very mature, very skilled quarterback, and so is Jordan Love. So forget the test, worry about the results, because the end results are all that really matter to the fans, to the teams, to the owners, and to the coaches. So you may not score high on the test, but if you win a Super Bowl, who's worrying about that test now? So I just wanted to bring that to everyone, because when I saw it online today, it really made me think, here we go again, talking about a test to determine if your abilities to be a quarterback are in the right place. And irregardless of what that score is, you have to perform. And I think you'll find out that performance will overshadow anything else. Well, that's going to do it for me tonight on this edition of the Post Route. We hope you've enjoyed our show tonight with Coach Bruce Eugene of Grambling State University, former quarterback there and the all-time passing leader. For my producer and director, Ms. Ronleen Kennedy. I want to thank her for all she does. And we hope that you join us next week for another edition on the Post Route here on YouTube. Until then, as we always say, go deep for the bomb. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.